I climb to the next highest level and rise above this flesh and bone. Here is where the winners win. Hear the line I'm standing in now. I'm on a roll.
Hi, I'm Danielle, and I'd like to share my experience regarding TMS and how Steve Ozanich's book, The Great Pain Deception, put me on the path to healing and changed my life. For me, watching testimonial videos from Steve's Wall of Victory was a huge help. I think I watched them all and found myself relating to each one. When I first began to heal, I was so excited and eager to share it with family and friends. Most everyone I know suffers from some form of chronic pain or illness. But I soon realized telling my story wasn't going to be easy. Those who have gone through this know that much of both the medical world and the general population either don't know or don't want to accept what people like Dr. Sarno and Steve have discovered, or uncovered rather. Steve explains very well the reasons for this in his book, but here's my story. When I was about 30 years old, I started getting an unexplainable burning pain in my left forearm. About a week or so prior to the onset of the pain, I had been stacking wood in my basement, and I got bit on the hand by some kind of bug or spider, so I thought maybe this was the cause for the forearm pain. And then my mind started going in the direction of, was it a black widow spider or a brown recluse, or did I get bit by a tick and now I have Lyme disease? So I think this began a subtle but vicious cycle of fear in my mind. The strangest part about it was I would get the pain every time I sat down to eat. Every time. It was very strange. And it lasted for weeks and then months. And eventually I did go to the doctor, of course, and she diagnosed me with tendinitis. And I mentioned to her the connection between the eating and the pain, but she just seemed totally puzzled by that. And so she gave me a band to wear on my arm, which ultimately made the pain worse. So to make a long story, not so long, this just began 7 years of increasing pain, not only in my forearm, which at its worst was getting pain hundreds of times per day, shooting burning pains throughout it, but just a continual debilitating spreading pain condition throughout my whole body. The last 2 years I had constant numbness, weakness, and or pain day and night, and trying to sleep was agony. So I saw physicians and neurologists and surgeons, chiropractors, hand specialists, podiatrists, physical therapists, massage therapists. And I will say that although massage therapy couldn't cure me, it was the one thing that did temporarily relieve the pain. So I highly recommend that if you can do it. It's wonderful. But I got x-rays and MRIs, and I was diagnosed with RSI or RSS, bulging discs, herniated discs, degenerative disc disease, possible spurs, high arches in my feet. What else? Let's see. Oh, I had a chiropractor tell me that one leg was longer than the other on my first visit. So I think all of these things just added to the fear and panic cycle that I was already in. Every day I would wake up with my neck, back, shoulders, arm, wrist, fingers, legs, and feet just in such pain. And I would get up in the morning and I would lay across my coffee table and hang my head off the back of it, just trying to get some relief and trying to somehow reverse my bulging disc problems in my neck, thinking I could reverse that, but didn't help. And I used canes, I used all kinds of tools to try to, alleviate the pain, inflatable collar. I was popping muscle relaxants and pain relievers, using hot and cold creams, ice packs, heating pads, I had various pillows, like Steve talks about, the Zsa Zsa Gabor syndrome, with all the pillows propped up everywhere. Every night I had to sleep with 5 or 6 pillows to be comfortable. That didn't help either. Just constantly checking my posture, stretching, exercising, just obsessing on the pain, trying to do anything I could to alleviate it. I also had some other symptoms. I had tinnitus very badly at one point, not just high-pitched ringing. I had all kinds of sounds, humming and buzzing, and just, so I thought I was losing my hearing. I had eye problems, thought I was going blind at one point. At my worst point of my pain, I had shingles spread across my forehead. Headaches and allergies, which have been a problem since childhood, got much worse. So it was hard. I didn't want to complain to family and friends too much for the risk of sounding like a complete hypochondriac. So I felt very alone. The doctors told me I would probably need disc replacement surgery, possible hand and foot surgery. I considered a breast reduction operation at one point. I was just at a total loss for why my body was in such pain. It was very depressing, and I was just very scared, and I was afraid that eventually I'd be suicidal. I'm a mom of 3. I love my family and friends dearly, and of course that's something I would never want to consider, but the pain was that bad. So one day I sat down at my easel to draw a portrait for a client, and I lifted my pencil to draw, and the pain in my arm and up into my shoulder was just crippling. And so I started crying and praying, which was nothing new at this point, but I said, this needs to be figured out. And so I started Googling a bit, and I found an article from a gentleman who had also been diagnosed with RSS, and basically found the diagnosis to be utter BS. And found a doctor named John E. Sarno, and healed because of him. So, obviously, I looked Dr. Sarno up right away, and I spent the next few hours listening to his 3-hour audiobook on YouTube, Healing Back Pain. And then I found his book online on Amazon, too, and purchased that for $4. And I read reviews on Amazon, and I couldn't believe how many glowing reviews there were on Dr. Sarno, and also a gentleman named Steve Ozanich. So I also ordered the book, The Great Pain Deception, and I started healing. Dr. Sarno's book was wonderful. It really helped me understand TMS, and then afterward I read Steve's book, and it just answered all the questions I was having. It was just amazing. And I got rid of all the methods I'd been using. I stopped throwing my money away on medical procedures and supposed remedies, and the fear started to leave. So now I'm back to doing all the things I love to do. What I can tell you is knowledge is key. At first I wanted an easy answer. As I read Steve's book, I remember thinking, okay, now how do I fix it? But it doesn't quite work that way. I believe if you can grasp the knowledge immediately, you'll heal immediately. I did start to heal instantly, but it took a while to really understand why we get these chronic conditions and pain to begin with. I'm still learning, and every day I have little epiphanies on how the mind and body work together, and I'm constantly amazed by it. Letting go of the fear is the other component I think is so important. Once you understand you're not falling apart, there's nothing dreadfully wrong with your body, and you do not need surgery for most, if any, chronic pain conditions. The symptoms start to disappear. As Dr. Sarno and Steve say, the pain is caused by reduced blood flow and mild oxygen deprivation. That's it. Which is why I think techniques like massage therapy feel so good to those achy areas, at least temporarily. But one tip I'll relay from Steve's book that is probably underestimated is breathing. I never thought there was anything wrong with my breathing, but the more I learned about TMS, I noticed my breathing was short, anxious, and fast. especially when I was feeling overwhelmed or stressed out. Sometimes I'd be sitting there and I'd start feeling the neck tension coming on or some pain in my arm, and I'd say, okay, now how's my breathing? And I would realize that I wasn't really inhaling or exhaling. I was just sort of sitting there. So breathing is very important. I haven't yet figured out what the connection was between eating and pain at the start of TMS for me. I've always had a fairly healthy relationship with food. Not perfect, but pretty normal. But I do know the mind is a complex system of pathways and possibilities which involve and are not separate from the body. So one last factor I'll mention is realizing that certain personality types are more prone to chronic pain and symptoms. If you're the type of person who tends to be overly critical of yourself, hates to disappoint others, perfectionistic in certain areas of your life, if someone were to ask you if you get angry often and your response is something like, no, not really, I never feel angry, that response can explain why you might have chronic pain. If you go through life not letting situations faze you by shoving negative emotions that bubble up to the back of your mind, thinking they'll go away, like I did, those emotions are not disappearing or evaporating. They are still in your mind, and they will express themselves, if not through proper handling of them, then through physical pain and symptoms. So please, if you are suffering from any sort of chronic ailments, or you know anyone else who is, from carpal tunnel syndrome to back pain, stomach problems, leg and feet pain, fibromyalgia, anything, read Steve's books, especially The Great Pain Deception. The knowledge you'll gain and the way this book will open your eyes, it's indescribable. So thanks for listening to my story, and a huge thank you to the late great Dr. Sarno and to Stephen Ray Ozanich for no doubt helping so many people, saving countless lives through their wisdom and compassion. I hope all who are suffering find the knowledge and the faith to heal. I do not believe we were created to live a life of suffering and pain. So thank you, and God bless.
There's a strong wind to sail, there's a fire inside me. Hollywood walls in my way. With a handful of hope in my pockets to guide me and faith. I have faith. I have faith.
Hey there, I'm back with a quick update. After sending Steve my video a few days ago for his Wall of Victory, I did a lot of thinking and came to a moment of realization. It had to do with why I believe TMS started for me in the first place, with the sitting down to eat and the pain. I won't get into specifics, but I was finally able to nail down the emotion that was tied to it. And I was surprised to find it was a feeling of guilt, probably stemming back from my childhood. So I just wanted to say that if any of you are considering posting a video to Steve's Wall of Victory, I would highly recommend it. Not only may you be helping others on their journey, but this could be an amazing step forward to ultimate healing for you as well. So thanks again, and happy healing.
I have faith.